Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's update on the Alberta wildfires. We'll begin with updates from Bre Hutchinson from the Alberta Emergency Management Agency and Christie Tucker from Alberta Wildfire. Then we'll take your questions. Please go ahead, Bre.
Thank you and good afternoon. We've had some rain and cooler temperatures in many areas, which has helped manage some of the fires. For example, I'm pleased to report that the town of Rainbow Lake is no longer under evacuation order. I know the community is currently working on re-entry, so I'd encourage all evacuated residents to follow local authority channels for the most up-to-date information on re-entry. Though this is good news, there are still fires burning throughout Alberta, and we're not out of the woods yet. That's particularly true in the northern part of the province, where the fire danger is expected to be high to extreme for the foreseeable future. For our part, the Alberta Emergency Management Agency continues to stand ready to support communities and organizations throughout this response and into the recovery ahead. Alberta continues to be under a provincial state of emergency, and the Provincial Emergency Coordination Centre remains at a level 4. Currently, there are 7 states of local emergency, 5 band council resolutions, and 4,417 people are evacuated. There are 4 reception centres open to provide services and supports to evacuees. The fire in Fort Chipewyan area remains a high priority for us. An evacuation order remains in effect for the area, including the Mikisew Cree First Nation, Fort Chipewyan Métis Nation, and Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation. Residents of the area can contact Pulse, a municipal helpline, at 1-800-973-9663 or 780-743-7000 with any questions or for information on the state of local emergency. Residents can also stay informed by visiting the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo's website for the most current updates at rmwb.ca/fortchip. And of course, the Government of Alberta 24-hour information line at 310-4455 remains available for anyone who may have questions. The wildfire situation remains serious. While the situation stabilizes in some areas and more evacuees safely return home, other areas are still in the thick of fire danger. There's a lot of summer left ahead of us, and there are months left in the fire season. Everyone can do their part to help us have a safer summer ahead by closely following updates on the wildfire situation across the province, downloading the Alberta Emergency Alert mobile app, obeying fire bans and restrictions, and thinking about what actions can be taken to better prepare for an emergency or evacuation. Visit alberta.ca/beprepared for online preparedness resources. We are still in a precarious position in this province, and we have to remain vigilant to make sure our homes and our loved ones are ready for whatever the summer brings. Before heading outdoors this weekend, everyone should check albertafirebans.ca to see if there are fire bans or restrictions in the area and abide by them at all times. It really is possible to have both a fun and safe summer, and I encourage everyone to do their part. Thank you, and I will now welcome Christie to give an update from Alberta Wildfire.
Thank you, Bre. There are currently 56 wildfires in the forest protection area of Alberta. 15 of those are out of control. So far this year, we've responded to 560 wildfires, burning more than 1,150,000 hectares. It was a good day for firefighters yesterday. We saw minimal growth on wildfires in the province, allowing them to make progress on containing the fires. Even up north, where the wildfire danger has been elevated, there was lower activity, including on the wildfire near Fort Chipewyan, which we are calling the Rocky River Fire. We are expecting lighter winds again today, and firefighters will continue to work on controlling the movement of fire as much as possible. Because the fire dangers are still high in the north, a fire ban and off-highway vehicle restriction remain in place for the High Level and Fort McMurray areas. A fire restriction is in effect for the remainder of the forest protection area, but please check albertafirebans.ca for the latest information near where you are. We continue to make use of firefighters from outside the province to help manage the large-scale wildfires still burning across Alberta. There are more than 900 firefighters on the ground today from other jurisdictions, including Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. They join about 1,700 from Alberta Wildfire who have been working long days and nights for at least the past month. Unfortunately, our fellow Canadians are now experiencing the kind of extraordinary wildfire season we've been fighting here in Alberta. There's a demand for firefighters like never before. But we're planning ahead and working closely to bring in extra help from around the world. We will welcome South African firefighters this weekend, with hundreds of more firefighters expected next week. Please remember, even though conditions may be improving in much of the province, it's still important to take action to prevent any new wildfires from starting. If you're heading out to the forest this weekend and you're in an area where you can have a campfire, please soak it, stir it, and soak it again. All Albertans have the power to help in this record-breaking wildfire season. Thank you.
Thanks, Christie. We'll now move to questions. Just a reminder for reporters, if you'd like to ask a question, please press *1 to enter the question queue. It doesn't look like we have any reporters in the room, so we'll go to the phones. Please state your name and outlet. Each reporter will have one question and one follow-up. Operator, please put through the first call.
Thank you. Emily Mertz, Global News.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. We just spoke to the chief of the Mississippi First Nation, and he mentioned that they have military arriving there on Saturday with boots on the ground Sunday, and then he said an additional 100 firefighters coming as well. Do you have any details on the resources up there?
Yeah, we have 60 firefighters on the ground right now. We do know that the Canadian Armed Forces is positioned to deploy about 85 from the 1st Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. They're going up to the Rocky River fire on the 3rd, and they'll be responsible for supporting our firefighting efforts there in the region in coordination with our firefighters. So the exact time of arrival is going to be depending on priority demands for the aircraft and the kind of weather conditions that they are seeing on the ground. As I've said, this is our #1 priority wildfire in the province, and it remains so. So resources will be allocated as they come in, and we certainly are expecting quite a few firefighters over the next few days.
Is there a follow-up question?
There is not.
Thank you. Operator, please put through the next call.
Thank you. Carly Robinson, City News.
Hi, I saw a photo from the military of basically transporting a fire truck to that northern fire using one of their aircraft. Is that a difficulty of getting supplies into this area, knowing there's no road in?
It certainly is one of the logistical challenges that we deal with here in Alberta on a regular basis. There are communities that are more difficult to access by road or impossible to access by road, but we, as you can see, do have resourceful ways of getting resources there, of bringing in materials, and we work on it very hard. We have logistical people who are very good at what they do. They work in Alberta, they know what they're doing, and they are prepared for these kind of situations.
Thank you. And just with the Rocky River fire, if you could give us an update on where it is in relation to some of those nearby communities. And I know the chief from Mikisew was saying that there have been some cabins lost. Do we have a number for that?
I'll ask my colleague to touch on the structural damage, if any, but I can talk about the fire. It is currently listed at 14,500 hectares. Now, that is not an indication of any severe growth we've seen since yesterday. It's because they've been having difficulty properly mapping the perimeter of the fire because of the smoke present. So it can be more challenging to fly over the fire and get an accurate size. So we haven't observed any significant growth over the last couple of days, but that is an updated size because they have recently been able to fly the fire and get a more accurate reading. It has not moved significantly closer to any of the communities. I understand it is 8 kilometers currently from Fort Chipewyan and about 4 kilometers from the airport and 4 kilometers from Allison Bay. So there has been a small amount of movement, but not significant. Any growth on that fire has been seen on the areas away from the community. I'm not sure if Bre has anything to add. No.
Thank you. Operator, are there any more calls?
Thank you. There are no additional calls in the queue today.
Thank you. That concludes today's wildfire update. Please note, media situation report will be distributed later today. Thank you.